individual, and that realization to set in will take some time, I guess. So, of course, there are various programs that are being conducted and all these things, but still in India, they look for some basic device, a box which goes up and down, probably with a little bit of real this is the majority I'm talking about. Of course, there is another side in India, wherein the commercial side, wherein the high end, they definitely value a little bit of they value the quality and the reliability of the product. But predominantly, as a majority, they just want something to move up and down, and that's what is the expectation of the majority of people in India.
Thank you, Shankar. And what's your take on this, Manish?
So KK, if we look back 5 years, when demonetization happened in 2016, and going forward, then there were different challenges like RERA, GST, NBFC crisis, and the most recent one, COVID pandemic, which has hit everyone. So if you see, from the industry perspective, everyone will agree with me. More or less, all the industries are under constant move, to restructure the businesses and adopt to the, call it new normal or the new regulatory environment. But for sure, I think COVID-19 has a far bigger impact in not only creating short-term disturbance, but also it has, questioned existence of many companies. If we talk more specific about the real estate and allied industries, I think our industry was going through a huge cash flow problems. And now with this journey of continuous challenges, including COVID, I think there has been increase in the input costs for the builders and ourselves, due to changes in the prices, disruption in supply chain, and so on. So which together brings a quite challenging environment for the whole real estate industry, and which I think together we have to tackle with the builders. But as they say, that in the middle of difficulty also lies an opportunity. So I believe this is the right time for the people, for the companies to look into their business model and make it more agile and lean. Make in India, I think this is an excellent opportunity for us and the component suppliers to encash and show confidence, to the whole world that, over the period of time, we can match the safety and quality requirements which are required as per the international standards. And for sure, we have to work, jointly with the builders and the developers for the proper solutioning and proper planning, so that we adopt to the latest digital technologies on which I guess all the companies are working on, and certainly provides a lot of value add to the companies.
Thank you, Manish. I think it was actually a very nice way to put it, that it lies an opportunity in these difficult times. And now I ask Kumar, being a component manufacturer, I don't think you have a much different story to say. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah. Because see, as Mr. Manish and Shakib was telling about, we also have a lot of issues on the supply chain. We have a lot of because most of us are dependent on imports, and as we know, the containers and shipping lines are not available, and we are not able to meet the deadlines. Then when we look at the other trends that are affecting the elevator market from the component angle, we are seeing one is the aging population and urbanization and requirement of higher security. Urbanization, aging population has a dual effect, what you call bringing a new concepts to the market to give accessibility to houses which are lacking with elevators. And the biggest second thing is the lack of technicians, new technicians who are familiar with the older and the newer brands of lifts. Then this answer to this challenge is to improve the productivity of installation companies. And more focus we feel should be on Make in India now.
Thank you, Kumar. And Jagdish, you are on the other side of the table. But what is your take on this particular situation where the challenges are mounting, and how do you see this going forward?
Yeah, thanks, KK. See, COVID-19 has really, thrown everything out of gear from 2020 onwards. Otherwise, prior to say January 2020, we were going on at a good, very good growth rate, and industry was really looking up, and lot of manufacturing was happening in India. Quite a good quality products were being imported and all. And real estate was also going very good with the stabilization of the last 3-4 years reforms, like as others have put it, whether it is the GST or the demonetization, everything got stabilized. But come February or March 2020, we have got into a different thing which the world has never seen before. At least this generation, we have not seen this at all. So this has actually not given much time either to the real estate industry or the elevator industry, to think and put a game plan for this kind of sudden, difficulties or challenges which have come up. These challenges are now thrown up in various things. One, the disruption of the projects. Second, not much of cash flow was available. The important critical components import, the manufacturing which was supposed to happen, then the manpower issues, all these things have compounded and has given a very bad 2020. We must agree to that. But having now been slowly settling to the new normal, what we need to look at the opportunities or the ideal strategies, what I would feel is, as my other fellow panelists have put it across, it is very important that we need to see that how we source and manufacture locally, especially the components, elevator components, and how the elevator companies are, making their factories or the manufacturing facilities in India more and more, customer friendly with the requirements catering to the Indian market. And obviously, we need to ensure that, the highlight should be on the COVID safe features, how these kind of features are implemented in each and every elevator company or the product which goes into the building. That's very important. And digitalization will surely, has taken a big leap. People have acknowledged that, yes, we need to move forward in the way like Internet of Things and all. So all in all, the strategy should be like, a good product and good elevator components to be made locally in India, digitalization to be adopted by all, including all the stakeholders like, the elevator components, the manufacturers, and the end users like the real estate developers. And obviously, we need to see that, elevator products are packed with features which are pandemic friendly, or we foresee certain things coming in the near future also. Yeah, KK. KK, you're on mute.
Thank you, Jagdish. I think the key lies in solutions that are sustainable and that can meet the enduring requirements of the market. Now, my next question, I would like to start with Kumar. See, this is a very interesting question because Kumar is directly involved in that. The VHT industry is typically a iron and steel based industry. And there's been a lot of increase in price. And in spite of all that, in spite of knowing this, the developers are seeking price reductions. And this is a very, very complicated situation. How do you think you can address this? Kumar?
Yeah. Hello, are you hearing me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. When you look at the steel industry, for example, it's a growing price industry. So billets in China are one of the, because with a minimum of around 3,200 RMB in the last Q1 has now increased around 4,200 RMB. And domestically, the price increase is around 12 to 15%. and constituting an increase of around 18% for the steel. This is what we call as the steel effect. Then we also have the freight effect. The freight rates have increased from around 2000 USD in the first quarter to around now 6000 USD on the. And when you look at the guidance, it's a huge increase, maybe around 20%. And the value of the guidance is very low, and the freight cost is a huge impact with the cascading effect of the guidance prices now, the landing cost being around 30 to 40% of the selling cost. The extent of the price increase is not clear at this stage, but we believe that this will impact the VHT industry prices. We expect most of the VHT companies to raise the prices given the competitive margins and the market participants broadly synchronized price moves in the last few years. Because there's no other way, because see, it's not only the guidance. We talk about the guidance is only 3% of the total elevator component. And we have the price increase in the doors, we have the price increase in the wire ropes, and all this will cascade into the final pricing levels. And there's no options than increase the price.
Thank you, Kumar. With Shakir and Manish, with factories in India, I think they have similar challenges. I will ask Shakir now, what is that you're facing with regard to this cascading prices of steel?
Yeah, as Mr. Kumar just rightly mentioned, there is a lot of, these steel prices have been really going up, and there's been a lot. I feel this is more of due to the supply-demand issue. Because we had because of the COVID, and then the logistic costs also have gone up very high. This is again because of the shortage of containers globally, and they have shot up. And I don't think it is true at this moment. And, the costs, they're bound to have some correction going forward. So, but this definitely is impacting the costs of the elevators, and we are having to relook at the costing. There's no doubt about it. But going forward, hopefully we, because there's already, if you see last week, after the Chinese New Year, there's been a correction in the price. The cost of the nickel has shot down, so by about 18%. So again, we also expect this to happen for the other things, but we'll have to see. Different companies will have different strategies how to manage the situation. So we'll have to, hopefully we hope for the best, we hope. But ultimately, these are all because of the inflationary pressures. A part of the inflationary pressures also will start coming into play because many global countries, economies around the world have infused so much of liquidity in the market. There is bound to be some sort of inflation also with respect to that. But it all depends on how each company manages this situation. It is a tough situation for every elevator company going forward, but it's all to individuals' strategies how we go about it.
Thanks, Shakir. Manish, I would want to add a few more things before asking you a question. Apart from the steel prices, your Forex has also drastically changed. Your cost of labor is increasing. Logistic prices are increasing. What is the message that you want to convey to the building industry regarding the kind of price increase that has happened in the elevators as well? And a reduction in the elevator cost is actually a very unnatural requirement.
So, I mean, pricing is always a sensitive topic, and my co-panelist has already covered the pain which is going into the entire industry because of the raw material price improvement. But just to give a perspective, here we are not talking about a mild increase in the prices. Probably we are talking about something to a tune of 50% or more. So this indeed is a very big impact. And I would also like to bring one perspective on the table, that it's not only about the pricing for the future projects, but one of the biggest challenges for us is also there is a clear-cut mismatch between our price validity, what we offer to the clients, versus what we get, from the factories or from the suppliers. So to that extent, to make the things a little bit worse, many companies are already exposed because contractually we are bound by those, mid and long-term valid contracts. So yes, situation is challenging. We are working on what can be done to reduce the impact by being more efficient, lean, collaborating with the vendors, our own factories. But the gap what we see today, as you said, I think it's not something which we can bridge in short term. We can all hope that the prices will, the component prices, raw material prices, and the freight costs will rationalize going forward.
Thanks, Manish. Now, Jagdish, having heard Kumar, Shakir, and Manish, as a representative of the industry who sits alongside the builders, what are your viewpoints on this?
See, KK, in the industry, when you look at these pricing challenges and all, there are like, if you take the chain, it is something like, the raw material suppliers, then it comes to the component manufacturers, then it comes to the elevator companies who consolidate or manufacture in-house. Then the other stakeholder is your developer, whom we also look from his point of view. So when I look at all these four stakeholders in the entire chain, there are a lot of disparities in terms of, the price standardizations. Like raw material, yeah, it is depending on the availability and all the fluctuations happen. Component manufacturers are under pressure. And component manufacturers are also under pressure from the elevator companies who are once again on pressure on the getting pressure from the market on the pricing to be kept as low as possible because of the various situations in the market. So everywhere when the entire supply chain is working under sort of lot of pressure, how do we look at, ensuring that, your customer is going to demand a low price, and how elevator companies are going to cater to that kind of lower price demands. Now, for example, if you take a project is there, if say 6 to 7 elevator companies are quoting for that project, it is very interesting to see that, there is in their pricing itself, there is a lot of little disparities where, it's not some places, I can see at least 30 to 40% difference from the highest bidder to the lowest bidder. Now, how does this happen? Because when you look, or when as a consultant, I do a technical comparative, we almost bring everybody on par. But on the pricing part, there is a lot of disparity which is happening. Probably, that kind of price credibility is not seen to the developer who is again being lured or attracted to the lowest prices. So I don't know how companies can address this, but there should be some sort of a standardization or a price credibility, as I call it, should come so that it is easier for the companies to sell on various other factors rather than the price, like, competitiveness in your product quality, then installation capabilities and after sales services. All these things are shortly put it. If we are showing the real value for money, what the customer is giving, I think this can be addressed to a certain extent. Yeah, KK.
Thanks, Jagdish. I think I would now go back to Manish and Shakir for the next very interesting question. Like Manish said earlier, new challenges bring out new solutions. So this current price challenge is one of the most hitting challenges across board. It's not just with the elevator companies. I think even the builders are facing the same situation. As an elevator manufacturer, don't you think newer thinking process in terms of inventory, maintaining the kind of inventories that you maintain, which add to costs, or making the products leaner rather than overloading, don't you think these strategies would help bring down prices? This is for Manish.
Yeah, definitely, KK. I mean, we can spend 1 hour in talking what is going wrong in the prices and other things, but at the same time, we need to balance out what we can do to ease out the situation, because at the end of the day, we have to sell, and builders have to build their real estate requirements. So see, COVID-19 has also taught us many things, how we can work in a leaner way. So, if we look back into, our industry, where everything was, for example, happening face to face, this is something, which has changed. So there is a possibility to talk to the clients remotely and have a constructive discussions. From the supply chain perspective, really, I think the impact of raw material is quite huge. But as I said, with doing the right partnering, with the component supplier, especially I see now the sentiments of Indian suppliers is very high. And I think if we collaborate together to produce good quality products at the reasonable prices, so it's not only we are addressing the Indian market, but because of the other political sentiments, I'm sure there's also a space which we can penetrate into the global supply chain. Yeah, so I think that's very important that we keep working on that direction to address some of the concerns.
Thanks, Manish. Now, Shakir, I'm just an extension of what I asked Manish. The COVID has also made a lot of mandatory requirements in terms of touchless access of elevators, or having a clean environment inside, that is IQA compliant elevator cabins, internal air quality, indoor air quality, and you need clean, sanitized paneling and all that. So all these things are adding to the cost. What do you think would be the impact? Do you think there needs to be a change in strategy of how the elevator companies do business?
Yeah, definitely. Every company needs to relook and come out with their own, with the new strategies. This is definitely a requirement. Otherwise, without any change, post-pandemic, it's going to be difficult to manage. And also, all the companies have had enough time during the pandemic to really go in and do the processes and the systems and understand what's going on and correct. So I guess most of the companies are coming out more wiser and more leaner and out of this pandemic and more knowledgeable. So definitely, and the industry, I would feel the elevator industry has contributed a lot to this pandemic by coming up with all these devices which help people. There are many companies have come up with very, very innovative products. And I feel all of them have come up with very, very innovative products to help the customers, to help the users, to ensure that necessary safety measures are being taken on the COVID aspects. So, in fact, this COVID has been a both a boon as well as of course, the other side of it. So, but it's how the companies come out of the COVID. That's what matters. And, that's how and what if they have come out wiser and with new process, yes, good. Otherwise, they definitely have to rethink and do something different post-COVID.
Thank you, Shakir.
And if I just add a few sentences, see, I also see from a perspective that still I see there's a lot of waste in the system, which means that, if we do really a proper planning, then there's a definite scope also to rationalize the costs. To give an example, today, for example, the demand to have shorter and shorter deliveries for even, not only smaller elevators, but even mid-size and high-rise elevators. We are getting a lot of such requirements from the builders. For sure, it's not so easy to plan in a most cost-efficient way. When we say that we need a mid-rise, 20 floors, 30 floors elevators, in few weeks or probably month. So I think if we can also focus on that aspect, and reduce those waste, I think it will also help to overall rationalize some of the costs which are just sitting on the table.
Thanks. That was a very valid point. And now this takes me to Jagdish again. See, Jagdish, yourself and myself, we are in a very advisory role. We advise a lot of customers on how to take things forward with respect to elevators. What Manish says is very relevant about a lot of wastage happening. Wastage in terms of time, in terms of space, in terms of components, in terms of material, in terms of anything, specifications as well. There are certain redundant specifications that the customer keeps asking for. What do you think could be a role that we could play for this industry?
See, earlier, it's not that, elevator companies have recognized that there is a lot of wastage in the entire process or the way the things are conducted now. It has been there, and every companies have had their own ways and means of ensuring, how they lean the entire process and ensure that, they are cost effective when it goes to the market, when the product goes to the market. Now, having said that, this was done in isolation from the real estate or the customer. Now the situation is different. COVID has taught us that, the customers are also wanting to understand what can be done along with the company. So there has to be what I call it as a inclusive discussion. I mean, the elevator companies go to the customer when to sell their product or sell their service, but now you have to make them also part of as a stakeholder in your procedural restructuring, I can say that, to ensure that, what exactly you need to get the feedback from the customer, that what exactly they are looking at, what they would want it to be done in the terms of products or services, where the companies are exactly providing the same, and you and I as on an advisory role, we will be working as an intermediary or a bridge between the customer and the elevator companies to ensure both the sides, the right quality goes into the building, and ultimately the end user sees the enhanced performance of elevators without compromising on any quality.
Thanks, Jagdish. Thank you. And Kumar, what is your contribution to this? How do you think, as a component manufacturer, you can support this kind of initiative where waste can be eliminated?
KK. See, this crisis has spurred a continuous demand responses across and even within the companies. Despite the alarm and uncertainty, we believe our organizations should continue to rely on the existing business models, seeking opportunities to preserve and sustain the value what we are giving. Now, the best scenario will be for us to have the Make in India option. See, more reliance on import of more countries are definitely going to be a big issues in the longer terms. And the more we have the organizations working with manufacturing in India, the Make in India, I think this would be the key to our future success.
Thank you, Kumar. Now I am coming to a very sensitive topic. A lot of times, we come across customers renegotiating prices. They come back and say, and this is not a very nice thing to happen to anybody. You have finalized the contract and you don't want it to be renegotiated because you've taken a lot of efforts to finalize the contract. What is the message that you want to convey to the industry, Shakir?
Yeah, this is $1 million question. I guess this is very common, not only I think in elevator industry, it is very common in the construction industry or any industry. Renegotiation is a process which goes on based on various factors or based on the conditions in the contract. So I'm not surprised to hear this word because of this COVID, of course, because of the situation, people have called in and asked us to relook at the prices. But definitely, For certain people, we have based on the situation and based on, because like for example, if you take service, providing services, yes, we've been able to relook in certain cases the prices that we have been offered, because we were sometimes there are situations where we've not been able to, and we want to support the customers also. So in such situations, we have extended our cooperation to our customers. But new contracts, probably we would go back to the customers to renegotiate the price, because now now the input costs are all going up. It's given an opportunity. Of course, we are locked in many contracts, as Manish had said before, and we are committed to honoring our commitments to that. But wherever there are opportunities to reach out to the customer, we do try to reach out to the customers also and discuss with them and see the possibilities, come to a mutual agreement on the prices.
Thanks, Shakir. And what is your advice, Manish?
Yeah, I think it's a sensitive.
I would rather not call it an advice. I would rather call it an appeal.
Well, I think it's a sensitive topic for sure. And just to balance out, the equation, we do understand what are the challenges which are being faced by the developers. So, there are challenges from the demand side. At the same time, there are also challenges from the cost side. So I think their requirement or demand to, to relook at the prices from their perspective seems to be what they will have to do. And I respect our developer friends from that perspective. But as the whole topic of this seminar is from the price and the cost perspective, I think the situation, number one, is a competitive environment. So no companies are working on the margins where, when we talk about the cost increase of more than double digit can be absorbed in a usual way. For those contracts, as Zakir already mentioned, we have to fulfill our commitment where we are already committed. But wherever the price validity is over, I think largely the companies do not have any other option but to pass on a reasonable price increase. When I say reasonable, meaning factoring all the good work which has been done internally to make the organization more leaner and more competitive. So I think the delta has to be discussed on the table with the clients.
Thank you, Manish. Jagdish, I think your point of view as a consultant is very important on this subject.
See, the very question of, we are debating this question of renegotiating the price. This has not happened before. It happens only when in a certain situation like this. Probably this COVID-19 has pushed the people to, to get to the point of renegotiating prices and all. It's not that builders or real estate is likely to make something out of this or gain out of this renegotiation. No, it is something like, they are wanting to make their projects getting completed so that there is a turnaround happening, so that once this phase is over, new projects will start and all. As Shakir and Manish have rightly put it, when we are giving to the real estate now, the real estate also will give it back to us, as it has happened in the past also, it will happen in the future also. So ideally, this is a situation where ultimately we all know that we are all dependent on real estate industry. How healthy the real estate industry becomes is very important for our survival as well. So it's important that at this juncture of point, we need to help real estate to survive and thrive and become robust and strong in future, so that they will in turn, whatever we put forward to them, they will be able to accept, and the cycle goes on.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Now I want an opinion from Kumar Swamy as well.
Yeah, see, basically, if you look at our component industry also, like how the OEMs are also facing a renegotiation of the prices. We also have orders on the backlog from the elevator companies. So the elevator companies are also approaching us for a renegotiation in the prices. But if you look at, I come from a guidal industry, and if you look at the guidal industry, our price volatilities are now, for imagine, I've never seen in my career, the price volatilities are now only for 2 days. If you get an offer in the morning, you have to finalize the order in the very next day, or else the price changes. It's very volatile today. So the manner in which the price reductions are made is making a big difference in the company's ability to sustain as well as build value over it. So we are also under tremendous pressure.
Thanks, Kumar. Now, coming to a different question, we see a lot of dynamic changes happening in the way China is reacting to pricing strategies, or Europe is changing their strategy on pricing. What do you think is the lessons that we can learn from those countries? This is to Shakir first.
Yep. I think China and Europe, I'm not sure whether prices are going up there or what's the situation, but these are all unique markets. As I said before, India is a unique market by itself. It has its own dynamics, both culturally, professionally, and the growth rate of all these countries are also different. And we have to, and each country has its own lessons, and we have to, probably learn from these lessons. So India definitely is. There's a lot of, India is a nation of nations. It's such a vast country. So I keep saying it's a nation of nations. So every state is different. Every state is like its country in India. So every state has got its dynamics, and it's not an easy thing. So I don't know. Maybe in China it may be different, and Europe will be different. But India is a very unique country by itself. It has its own ways of playing the games. Yeah, we'll have to stick to the Indian rules of playing the games. I don't think we can copy or adapt any rules from any other country as it is into India.
Thanks, Shakir. Manish, you've had TK Elevators has got a very big stake in China. They've got huge factories there. Do you see any adaptation of any new ideas from there in terms of handling the markets in India?
See, if we talk about China, and also if we combine the discussion generally with the global scenario. So if you see in last 2 decades, there has been a tremendous focus in making supply chain more global, and to that extent, I think the whole global markets are largely dependent upon Asia, and more particularly China, for their raw materials and component needs. But what we have also seen that China is currently also facing the same raw material price increase impact. So I think from that perspective, China is no lesser impacted than how we are. And whether we like it or not, at the moment, even India is largely dependent on China, if not on the components, but from the raw materials. So I think the impact which we are seeing here in India is, to me, looks like it's pretty much what the whole world is facing. But I will also say that again on the positive note that with the new stringent codes which are being worked upon by the BIS committee, I think there's a good opportunity for our Indian market, Indian manufacturers and suppliers to compete in the global market. One more aspect I would probably put here is on the contract management. Now, if you see globally, and I hear the same from my colleagues in China, I think there's a lot of emphasis which is put on the contract management. Whether it is in terms of planning or execution, or adhering to the payment terms, credit terms, which are already mentioned in the contract. So I think if this is something which we can learn here in India, because if we, also impose or let's say obey the strong contract management, then in general it helps to reduce or manage a lot of risks and to execute, the projects with the minimum disturbance.
Thanks, Manish. And my last question is for everybody. There's a perception about the elevator industry. The perception from the builder community that the elevator people are a little rigid. They are very tough negotiators, and they don't budge so fast. So, what is that? How do you think this kind of a perception can be managed, or this perception can be removed from the industry? This is to Shakir first.
They have been, in fact, elevator industry is an ancillary industry to infrastructure and real estate. There was a point of time when there were certain misconceptions about the attitude of the elevator companies who were at some point of time probably monopolistic business situation in the country. To a large extent, I would say it was because of the situation, and there were not many options available. But over the last decade, there have been a lot of changes that have been taking place, and there have been a lot of synergy between the real estate developers and the elevator industry, and the relationship has become very symbiotic, and it's the only way forward that we can move. We have to work in a more efficient way, and I don't think the elevator companies can any longer, try to be the same way. They have to, be hand in glove with the real estate industry, and that's how they can move forward.
Thank you. And your take, Manish?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't actually quite agree that elevator industry is driven. If I see the environment and the ecosystem around, so there's a fair competition in the organized sector and also in the unorganized sector. So I think it's not that there are a handful of the companies who are dominating the market. There's a pretty fair competition from that perspective, and I think Zakir started his speech when we started the webinar that he sees that elevator pricing are going down year by year. He doesn't see the other way around, which is also gives an indication that how flexible the elevator industry is. Having said that, I think it's not only about the prices and the cost. The elevator is one of the most important aspect in any building. It can make the building work for its useful life, or it can, destroy, the viability of a building. So we are spending, and not only us but my peers, we all are spending, I think, a lot of money in creating innovative and intelligent systems to ensure long-term sustainability of the project. So I think from that way, all of us are very focused in bringing new technologies on the table and at the fair price.
Thank you, Manish. Now, Jagdish, your turn as a consultant, and you've also had roles to play in the elevator industry earlier in your earlier role as a as a salesperson or as a sales manager of Otis. So, what do you think is the perception change between then and now, and what is that you want to advise the elevator companies?
See, the thing is, it is very important for the elevator companies now to be very competitive. Competitive, when I say, of course, the price challenges are different. Keeping that apart, the competitiveness should be more in terms of product and service quality, and how they are differentiating their product and services to the customers will play a key role going forward. That is one thing. And having said that, talking about customers, elevator companies should ensure that they are highly customer responsive. and whatever the queries and whatever is the requirements of customers are immediately met and met to his satisfaction. I think once these basics are addressed, I don't think there should be a new kind of a strategy which is required to get the balance going between the customer and the elevator companies. I think the whatever are the basics to be done, if they are done properly and at the right time, I think that should be taken care of. Okay.
Thank you, Jagdish. And Kumar Swami, you've also been part of the mainstream elevator industry, and now you are part of the component industry. What is your opinion on this?
On a lighter note, if you have the expansion of LIFT means life is full of tension. So then belonging to the component industry, there are many developments in the making that is continuing to see the elevator industry evolve in India. And we are poised to cater to the needs of the other Asian market, as well as setting a stage for India to become the hub of VHT manufacturing components in India. And this is one of the reasons why ICMAI was born. ICMAI, the Elevator Escalator Component Manufacturing Association, the main purpose is to have Make in India. And we also look at, second thing is proactive customer service will be the key in the future. Then the larger focus will be on strengthening local manufacturing and making factories in India, which will be future ready for exports.
Thank you, Kumar.
Thank you.
I think, to summarize whatever we discussed today, I think the first point is price is going to be a challenge. Price has been a challenge, is a challenge, and is going to be a challenge. That's what it is. Second thing, as Manish said, during these testing times, during challenging times, always solutions come up. And like Jagdish rightly put it, I think we are a very dependent industry on the building sector. So it is obvious that we need to support them to get back our support. So I think this is the takeaway, I think, from this panel discussion. And I want to give everybody a chance to give their final opinion on this. Shakir, I start with Shakir.
Yeah, it's how we make use of the opportunities. And the global challenges are there, and India also has its own share of challenges. I think it's how we make use of the opportunities to come out more successful. That's the key word. How we change and how we make use of the opportunities to come out more successful.
Jagdish, you're concluding.
In all these turbulent times, we need to always look at, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. We need to be optimistic. And when the tough times are there, the tougher people only survive, and it's the survival of fittest. And it gives us it has given us this challenging times have given us a very good experience for us to grow individually as a person and gain more. We have enriched our experiences, and I am sure we are ready for the next decade. So hopefully it should be positive growth going in the coming years. So let's be optimistic.
Thank you, Jagdish. Manish.
Yeah, so first of all, I would like to thank Anita and KK for both of you on organizing a very nice interactive event. Indian elevator industry, we all know, is the fastest growing industry in the whole world. And we are very positive, about those sentiments. And there are a lot of opportunities in different spaces, whether it's a residential, commercial, or infrastructure development, which we see. So I think it's an exciting industry to work on. And challenges would be there in any industry, but we all are committed to overcome those challenges and to bring this industry forward.
Thanks, Manish. Kumar Swami, your final words.
Yeah, as Mr. Manish Man has said, collaborating with OEMs with Indian component companies will definitely be the best thing that can happen to the Indian elevator industry. And we hope the India should be the hub for at least for the Asian countries to start with, for the hub of manufacturing components.
Thank you, Manish. And Kumar, we're going to have another panel discussion maybe in a day or two about Make in India. I think that's going to be an interesting panel discussion as well. I think you all please participate in that. Anita, over to you, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much to everyone. I'm sure all the people who attended got a bit of a perspective on the price challenges, and everyone came up with their own thoughts and ideas. I know it's a very sensitive subject, so too much dwelling is not possible, but we still wanted to address it. So I appreciate all your thoughts, and thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you very much, Anita. Thank you, KK.
Thank you.
Thank you,
all.
Shakir. Thank you, Manish, Jagdish, and
Thank
Kumar.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.